All right. And let's go through section P4, y'all. So section P4 talks about decimals, okay? So when we have a decimal number has what we call three parts. Okay, so look, y'all, I'm just going to write it a little bit bigger so everybody can see it. If we have the number 17.758, we have three parts. The first part here is what we call the whole number part. Okay, the number to the left of the decimal is the whole number part. The second thing we have is what we call our decimal point. And then the last part, the part to the right, is what we call the decimal part. Okay. Now, y'all, when doing decimal numbers, we want to take a look at place values. Okay. So back when we were like in elementary school, we talked about place values, right? So like the 7 is in the ones position, right? That means there's 7 ones. That one is in the tens position, right? Because it's 17. So that means there's a 10 and there's 7 ones. So we got 17. Okay. Now, when we start to look at the right of the decimal points, the first one is the first one to the right is what we call the tenths. Then we have the hundreds, the thousands, the 10,000s, the 100,000s, the millions, and we could keep going forever and ever and ever. Okay. So we have those place values. And really what we're going to do in section P4, y'all, is talk about how to round numbers. Okay. So when we're going to round numbers, what we want to do when it says, okay, we're going to round a number, we want to locate the digit to the right of the given place value. Okay. If that number is 5 or greater, we're going to add 1 to the digit in the given place value and then delete everything to the right of it, scratch it all out. If the number is less than 5, we're just going to get rid of the numbers to the right and leave the number alone. So let me explain to what I'm looking at here. It says, can we round 736.2359 to the nearest tenth? Okay, so the nearest tenth, y'all, the nearest tenth would be, sorry, I'm trying to write here. Boom, let's go like this. Oh, that's not what I'm trying to do. All right. The nearest tenth is, sorry, this thing is a little bit off, that's why. All right, the nearest tenth is the digit 2. So what I need to figure out is I got to look at the number to the right of the 2. Let me zoom in a little bit so we can see that maybe a little bit better. Okay, so I'm looking at the 2. I'm going to look at the number to the right of the 2. The number to the right of the 2 is a 3. Since that number is smaller than 5, I'm going to scratch everything to the right of the 3, and I'm going to write 736.2. Okay. Now, I'm going to do the same number, but now we're going to round to the nearest hundredth. So, y'all, the hundredth is going to be the second number to the right of my decimal point. So right now, I'm looking at the number 3. Now, that's the number I'm going to try to decide to round up or round down. I have to look at the number to the right of it. The number to the right of it is a 5. So the number to the right of it, if it's a 5 or more, then that 3 is going to get bumped up to a what? What's the next number after 3? What comes after 3? 4. So we're going to say 736.24. Okay. So y'all, years ago, like 10 years ago, I was teaching this same topic, right? And one of my students said, this is how he learned it. If the number to the right is 5 or up, bump that number up. And if the number to the right is 4 or less, he said, take a rest, leave it alone. Does that make sense? So 5 and up, so if this is a 5, a 6, a 7, 8, or 9, the number to the right of it is going to get bumped up by 1. But if the number to the right of my digit, so this is the digit I'm trying to do, if that's a 4 or a 3 or a 2 or a 1 or a 0, then leave this number alone and get rid of all that stuff. Okay. The hardest part I think people struggle with is When it says round to the nearest, say, hundredth, what place is that? And that's why, y'all, we have this little chart, because you'll see, look, here's the decimal point. The hundredths is the second one. Okay. So let's take a look at the next one. It says the price of a gallon of premium gas is currently, and they give me all these numbers, round to the nearest cent. Y'all, cent means pennies, right? So when we talk about pennies, we got to have two decimal places. So what we want to do here is we're going to go to two decimal places, and we're going to ask ourselves, are we going to go with $3.17 or we're going to go with $3.18? So what we're going to do is we're going to look, we want to round that 7 right there. Sorry, I didn't mean to scratch out the 7. Okay. We want to round that 7 right there. So I got to look at the number to the next to it. The number next to that first 7 is another 7. That means I need to bring it up, right? So what's my number going to be? 318, right? What we're really asking ourselves, is that number closer to $3.17 or is it closer to $3.18? Okay. Let's do the same thing here. We want to round to the nearest penny. Remember, y'all, to the nearest penny means we got to have two decimal places. So would you say that that number there, is that closer to 9 cents or is that closer to 10 cents? What do you think? What do you think? 0.098. Look at this number right here. Is it 5 or bigger? Yeah. So then we got to bump it up. So look, y'all, if that number is a 0.09 and we bump it up by 1, what does it become? What's the next number after 9? Anybody? Come on. What's after 9? Come on. You know, say it again. 10. There you go. Don't be scared. Right. What's the next number after 9? It's got to be a 10, right? There you go. All right, let's keep scrolling down, Charlie Brown. The next one here, y'all, says a high school teacher's taxable income is $41,567 and what's that, 72 cents? Okay, the tax tables and the teacher's state use the amounts to the nearest dollar. We want to round to the nearest dollar. So y'all, what we're asking ourselves is like to the nearest whole number. So if you were to look at that number right there, would you say that number is closer to $41,567? Or would you say that number is closer to $41,568? Which one does it look closer to? If we have 72 cents, are we closer to $1 or are we closer to not having $1? What do you think? Closer to $1, right? Good. Closer to $1. Y'all, don't be scared to talk. Nobody's going to get mad at you if you say the wrong answer, right? Don't be scared. Okay. Now, let's take a look-see at the next one here. It says, write the decimal as a fraction or a mixed number. Okay. Write your answer in the simplest form. Y'all, I'm going to ask you a question. 0.7. If you go back and look at this thing right here, okay? So I want you to do me a favor. Turn back your notes, okay? Turn back your notes. When you have this decimal point right here, what's the first position after the decimal point? What's it called? The tenths, right? Okay. So y'all, since that is in what we call, oops, I misspelled it. Since that's what we call in the tenths position, the way we're going to write this as a fraction, y'all, we're going to go like this. Over 10, and we're going to take that number and we're going to put it upstairs. And so that is 7 over 10. Okay. 7 tenths, 0.07, same thing as 7 over 10. Okay. Now let's do the same thing here for this one. Y'all, I'm going to ask you a question. Look at the second digit because there's two numbers here. What position is that second number in? If I scroll back up here and I say, look, here's my decimal point. What's the second position called? The hundreds, right? The hundreds, that's the second position. So what we're going to do here, y'all, is we're going to say over 100. And what's the number that we have here? 37. So we're going to go 37 over 100. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. Let's try to do the next one here. Okay, I got a question for you. Forget about the 8 for right now. Forget about the 8 for right now. What digit is that 6 in? If you look at your little chart, okay? Look at your chart. I'm not going to look at your chart for you. I want you to turn your page, right? Go like that. Take your paper. Boom. Turn it. What position is the third one in? Anyone know? Somebody said it. Thousands. Okay, look, thousands. What number do we have to the right of the decimal place? 6, right? So we're going to put a 6 right there. Now, y'all, do you see how we have a number in front of the decimal? That 8, that's going to be my whole number part because it's to the left of it. Okay, now, second thing is, do you all think we can divide those numbers by 2? So we're going to reduce the fraction. What's half of 6? Anyone know half of 6? What's half of 6? Say it. 3. Good. What's half of 1,000? 500. Boom. There you go. Awesome, y'all. You got it done. Okay. Let's try another one. We'll go real slow. Okay. 461.44. Okay. So remember, y'all, the 461, because that's on the left side, that's going to be my whole number part. Now, look, we already know what's going to go to the top. The 44 is going to go to the top. But since there's only 2 numbers there, y'all, the easy breezy cover go way you can remember this, put a 1 with 2 zeros. Why 2 zeros? Because there's only 2 digits, right? If you look at the one we did up here, there were 3 digits. So we had 3 zeros. Okay, we want to do the same thing, y'all. We want to write it in lowest terms. So look, the 461 we're not going to mess with. Do you all think we could divide 44 and 100? What do you think we could divide them both by? 4, right? Okay, look, let's divide them both by 4, y'all. Anybody know how many times 4 goes into 44? Somebody said it. 11. Good. Y'all, how many times 4 go into 100? 20 what? 4 what gives you $1? 4 of the same coin, 25 cents, right? So 4 quarters, boom. So we got 461 and 11 over 25, right? Boom, and there you go. All right, so guys, you can see how short that section was, okay? So look, let's do this. I'm gonna come back here. I'm gonna stop recording it. Boom, let's go like